Hello everyone, this is Morgan from morganlinton.com, and I am very excited to have teamed up with Paul from iGoldrush.com to bring you monthly videos all about domain development and branding. This is the very first video, so I thought why not start at the very beginning and really go into domain development and what I've divided into three different categories of domain development, which is a mini site or basic website, a full-scale information site, and then finally a full-scale online brand. What I think is so interesting about the domain development, the domain monetization, and the whole branding process is that you can start with something small and grow it over time. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this very first video. So, welcome, and I can't wait to bring you this video feature once a month. And feel free to write in to iGoldrush or to me if you have suggestions for things you want to see on this program, topics you'd like to have covered. Let us know and make sure to bring it to you. So now for the very first topic of discussion, domain development. Where do you start? How do you get started? Well, what I always think is the very best thing to do is if you want to develop a name and you want to build a brand on it, start with something really small. Start with something like a mini site. Now for some people, this is as far as they'll go. Maybe for some brands you just want to have something more than a parked page on it. But either way, a mini site is a great place to start. And I recommend a platform like WordPress to get a mini site onto a domain name as quickly as possible. Now I wouldn't necessarily say that you should run hundreds of WordPress sites. This can be a huge hassle to manage, and it's a lot to keep track of WordPress updates and plugin updates and all those things. That being said, as a platform just to start off a new brand or a new development project, WordPress is great because it's quick, it's easy, and there's a lot of ways to add SEO optimizations that you would otherwise have to hard code, that there's already plugins and things that make it easy to optimize on page really quickly. So how do you get started even with a mini site? Well, the first thing you'll need to do is obviously have a hosting account. And in your hosting account, you'll want to have someone that supports an easy, like one-click WordPress install. And two recommendations I have is either GoDaddy, which has their hosting connection, which literally you just click on a button that says install WordPress and it installs WordPress on a domain name you have, or using a hosting provider like HostGator, which I've used for years. And HostGator has cPanel, which allows you to use a really neat app called Fantastico Deluxe, which just like with GoDaddy, you click a button and you can install WordPress. Once you have WordPress installed, there's a lot of ways to quickly optimize it. I always recommend using the all-in-one SEO plugin, which is a completely free plugin that you can use to tweak a lot of the on-page SEO options for your site. And all you have to do to get started is just start adding a few posts. In the title of your post, your main headline on your post, you should have the keywords that you're targeting. And the body of your post, if you're going to do a mini site, I always say, it should be more than 350 words. Try to go for, somewhere in between 350 to 500 if you can. If you can do more than that, that's great. Go for it. The more content, the better. The most important thing when you're starting a mini site is that you have high quality, unique content. Whether you write it yourself or you're hiring a content writer, make sure it makes sense. Don't use an article spinner or someone who English isn't their first language and you're paying them $3 to write an article. You're not going to create engaging content that way. And at the end of the day, whether you have a mini site or a full-scale brand, you want something that you can be proud of, and that if somebody comes to the site, they not only find information they're looking for, but it's well written, it's accessible, it's something they may visit again, because repeat customers are absolutely critical to any online business or brand that you're building. So the mini site, you can start with that. Start with the WordPress site and start with a simple goal you can hit. I find a lot of people tend to burn themselves out because they'll set a goal like, I'm going to post 3 times a week. And the first time that they miss that schedule, they go, oh, well, I'm not keeping up with my schedule. I guess I'm falling behind. They just let it slip. And you see all of these dead WordPress sites that haven't been updated for 1 year or 2 years, and last updated February 2009. And you can see they had a trajectory. They were going for it, and then they missed a few weeks, and that was it. They just kind of let it run. And so if you're going to do it, set a basic goal for yourself. I always say the very best goal you can have when you're starting off with a mini site and you're not in a rush is just do an article a month and write it yourself. That way you're not spending any money hiring a content writer, And if it's a topic that you're passionate about or you know a lot about, you'll be able to write a great article. And once a month, you can do. And from there, build it up to maybe twice a month, and then get it weekly. And you continue to increase, but make sure you hit your first initial goal of once a month. Now, what happens when you have this mini site, whether this is where you start or this is where you end, is you'll start to index in search engines because you have articles with relevant content, and what you want to do is broadcast those out so other people can access them and link back to you, and that'll actually speed up the process. You can submit your articles to things like Dig and Reddit. You can blast them out through Twitter and through Facebook. There's a lot of ways that you can actually share the engaging content you have on a simple mini site, on just a simple blank WordPress blog with some content on it, really quickly and easily, and there's absolutely no cost to it. And that's where you can start. That's the mini site. Monetization is a whole other discussion. I'll do a whole piece on that. Right now I'm just talking about development side. So the next step up, I think, is a full-scale information site. This is where you finally reach a threshold that you're no longer really a mini site. You have more than 5 to 10 articles. And let's say that you have 25 or 30 articles, and they're all well-written articles. They have original content. Well, now you're a full-scale information site. And at this point, I think you have to look at, okay, well, which keywords are you targeting, and what are you ranking well for, and what are you not ranking well for, and determine really which path you should go down. Okay, if I'm not ranking well for this particular keyword pair, maybe I can do a series over the next couple weeks where I focus on that particular topic, and maybe reach out to some bloggers in the space and see if they want to reprint my article, or if maybe I could write a guest post on their blog and link back to my blog, or my site in this case. And so the full-scale information site, I think, really is a platform to start getting your brand known. The mini site, you may be able to get a few links to some of your articles, but no one will necessarily see that as a full-scale brand or an information repository. When you go to a site and there's only 5 or 10 articles, you don't go, oh, well, this is the authority in that space. If you have an information site that has, say, 25, 30, maybe 50 really good, well-written articles, and it's well organized, and you can get a really great-looking WordPress theme for under $100. Well, then you have a brand, and you can really start branding your information site. And I think the final step is an online business, a real brand. And that's where you go from more than just providing information, but actually providing a service. And the great thing you can do is you can really go through each one of these steps. So when you hit the full-scale information site and you're getting more and more traffic and you have a lot of articles and people are starting to comment on your articles, you can actually start to reach out to your users and reach out to the visitors to your site and say, hey, what is it that you would like here? Is there a service that we could provide you, whether it's a directory, whether it's a social network, if it's classified ads, if it's a way for people to add their own content. Whatever it is, I think you really take the next step from being a full-scale information site to an online brand once you add some functionality. Well, now you can book hotels through our site, or now you can get specialized maps showing exactly, suppose it's a cycling site. You can see all of the best, cycling routes in national parks. Whatever it is, there's some service so that people will come back to your site. Because what you would like is this idea that, hey, they're not just coming back because I have a new article, but they're coming back because they're using the site for a specific purpose. You can even do it with something simple to start. Maybe you have a site about real estate, so you put a mortgage calculator on your site. Well, if a few people that are reading your articles and find them useful see that you have that mortgage calculator and bookmark your site and go, hey, when I'm buying a house now, I'm going to keep going back to this site to use this mortgage calculator. Well, now they're actually returning to your site. You're getting repeat visitors. They're probably going to tell other people about your site, and you have a service that they're using. Now you have an online brand. But the great thing is, you don't have to start with the full-scale online brand. I think a lot of people go, okay, well, if I want to build something, if I want to build a software app, or if I want to build a full-scale business on a domain name, that I have to start with that. So I have to hire a developer, and I have to pay $5,000, and I have to hire a UI designer and a graphic artist. No, you can start with something really simple. Really start with like your minimum viable product here, and look at how can you scale that over time. And the mini site is really where it starts. The full-scale information site is where you start to build your brand, you start to become an authority in the space. And then the full-scale brand, the full online business, is when you are not only the authority in the space, but you're also providing a service. So you're becoming a go-to site for performing a certain function. Could also be a product as well. Maybe you write an ebook. Maybe you create a piece of software that someone can download. Whatever that is, you're going a step beyond just providing information. And because you've been able to build up the basics of your brand by being an authority in your niche, then you already have a user base. You can grow through word of mouth, and you can also grow through some of the partnerships that you've made getting to where you are. And that's it. That's the basic steps that I see with really building a domain name from a mini site, or taking a domain name from a mini site to an authority in a niche to really becoming an online brand. And it really shows the life cycle that you can go through. And yes, it can all start with a park domain that you just want to have one article on every month for 6 months and see how it does, and you can take it from there. So I hope you enjoyed this first video in the partnership between Morgan Linton, myself, and iGoldrush. I'm really looking forward to bringing you guys these videos every single month. As always, I love to hear from anyone that watches my videos, reads my blog. Love to hear from you and hear what you'd like to hear about, hear any comments you have about what I've said in this video, and let's make this as exciting as possible, because this is the future, turning domain names into real online brands, and I want to help each and every one of you do exactly that. So thanks for watching. Huge thanks to iGoldrush. iGoldrush was one of the very first websites that I discovered when I was learning about domaining, and Paul's done an amazing job keeping iGoldrush on the cutting edge of the domaining world. And as you know, things have changed. In 2005, 2006, parking was cutting edge, finding the best parking service. Now in 2011, development, building brands is where a lot of domainers are going, and I can't wait to share the adventure with all of you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.